Let's go, baby. We in here. It's the latest edition of Corners of the Culture. I'm D-Lo. He's KC.
Yeah.
I was waiting for you to jump
Say,
in. Yeah, I thought you see the last episode. I was about to say, "Oh, it's the dope ones down is dope," but you slid right underneath me, so I was gonna lay out and let you hit us with the dope ones.
That's hilarious.
Don
is
is
dope, by the way. What's good?
Yes,
indeed. We all here. We all here.
Yeah, we in here, baby, talking about one of my favorite things, man. The Notorious BIG on the heels of 25 years celebrating life after death. First off, take care of the business, man. Thank you so much for downloading, subscribing, and for listening. We appreciate everybody who takes time to listen to this podcast. If you want to watch it, it's available in its video form over on YouTube. That posts every single Thursday, a little bit after the audio version post. We appreciate everyone who's checked out DLoandKC.com as well as thedopeones.com. Check out all of the great merchandise the Dope Ones has available for you, again, over at thedopeones.com. Admittedly, as most people already know, if you've been caught up on this series after our Ready to Die episode, Notorious B.I.G. is probably my favorite artist ever.
I was gonna ask you that.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure, but I was gonna ask.
He is. It's tough because he's been gone for so long. Like I love Jay-Z, so if I were to pick two, it's Big and Jay, and Kendrick Lamar is kind of right there on par with those guys. But I love Big. I listened to this Life After Death album with a different set of ears this time around, and I had some feelings on it, and I'm anxious to talk about it. But 25 years ago, just a couple weeks ago, this album dropped.
Crazy.
Of course, it dropped 16 days, I think, after
he passed.
Yeah, after the Notorious B.I.G. was murdered in Los Angeles, and of course, it's one of those albums that, because of the situation, it kind of takes on a life of its own. Hypnotized was already a smash by the time Biggie passed away. And there are just like listening to this album over the course of the last 10 days or so was such a reminder of like what a lyrical genius Notorious B.I.G. was.
Real quick, was Hypnotized debuted at the party?
I don't think it was debuted at the party. I think it was out.
Because I remember, this is what I remember. I was a young boy. So, excuse me if I wasn't on the official drop, but I remember I was in the Bay Area. I had a basketball tournament for my junior high school team. We were in Redwood City. That's what the tournament was. We were, I don't know, Santa Clara. It doesn't really matter. But I remember Saturday night on KMEL or 94.9. I don't remember. They played Hypnotized like 3 times. It's like, new Biggie Smalls, Justin, you won't hear it anywhere else. New Biggie Smalls. And me and my teammates, we was like, oh, this is kind of dope. Like, this is sick. And he kept saying, new Biggie Smalls, new Biggie Smalls. And the next morning, I went to Oakland after the tournament. And I remember turning on KMEL, and he had just been pronounced dead, and they were like, this has to stop, all this other stuff. So that's the only reason why I asked that. I don't, like, in the streets, maybe it was Hot 97, it was out for a couple weeks, I don't know, but I remember that vividly. The DJ, like, new Biggie Small, played it like 3 times that Saturday, and then the next day
it dropped 5 days before. That's when it was released. So 5 days in, you're still very much saying you're not going to get this anywhere else. You're still very much doing that radio speak. Hot new Biggie Smalls. It's 5 days old. It's still very much new. But that was, if I recall correctly, from everyone who talks about it, that was the vibe at the party. No pun intended. Is Hypnotized was rocking like over and over and over and over again. The only record that I remember, like in my run where you'd go to a club and it would just play 4, 5, 6 times in a row, was 50. When In the Club dropped, it was just, they would just mix it back in. It would just run. It was a 20-minute record in the club because they would just play it over and over and over again. But that's what Hypnotized was doing at the party. That's what Hypnotized was doing when it first dropped, because it had that. That was the record, I feel like, that they put out to show like, yo, Big's a star.
Absolutely.
Ready to Die was something different. Big, this record, this album, but this record, Hypnotized, establishes, yo, Biggie Smalls is a massive star.
100%. And it was his first Billboard #1 ever in his career.
Damn,
you would think
he didn't get it with the other two, huh?
He got rap #1 with just Billboard, just pop
100, it was his first #1, Hypnotized.
Wow.
It catapulted him to another stratosphere. And in the video, like, come on, the video is just
every time I think of
iconic.
Big, the video,
The
like
video
it's
just-
that video is what I always.
drive it backwards in the bed.
But it's that shot where they're smiling and they're doing
yeah.
the
On the
bob from
boat?
side to side, and it's
Yeah.
like,
yeah.
And what did he say
Yeah.
out there? He was like, "Well, I don't care. I don't care."
Just-
He said, "I care. I care." Puffy was like, "I care. Stop
Throw
throwing
the
money."
money on the boat, man.
But to your guys' point, I'm big for like the moment and reaching the moment and answering the call. And after the success of Ready to Die and who he was as a new artist, man, that first single off the second album is always
It's always tough.
it's always like, "Ooh, can you live up to it?"
mm-hmm.
Not only did he live up to it, he exceeded it.
Absolutely.
Hypnotized from the first moment I heard it, and everybody around me heard it. This is a smash.
Yeah.
This track is fire.
Yeah.
He did it. He absolutely did it. Is that the one? I don't think it is, but the urban legend has. I think it was in the movie, but I think Puffy talked about it or whatever. But I think it was Hypnotized where they're playing it in the studio. They're playing it, and he just sits back and he says, "I'm the greatest. I'm the greatest. I did it. I'm the greatest." I think it was. I know it was in the movie, but I think Puffy talked about that moment too in real life.
So if it's in the movie, it wasn't Hypnotized.
Mm.
It was 10 Crack Commandments.
And now I was going to say that it's 10 Crack Commandments. He did it with Preem, and it was the last song recorded on the album.
Yeah.
And he's like, "We did it, Preem. We did it."
And that's the record
Yeah.
where he goes,
Yeah.
"I'm."
Okay.
It's my
the
favorite
greatest."
song on
Yeah.
the album, by the way. We'll talk
Yeah?
about that later, though.
10
Yeah.
Crack Commandments. Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I've been trying to decide what my favorite. I think I know what it is. I'm quite positive. Actually, we should probably talk about that because the album was recorded over 2 years, from 95 to 97. I think it's September 95 to early 1997. And you talk about your favorite records. The one I play the most is Long Kiss Goodnight. I think Long Kiss Goodnight is my favorite record on there.
Yeah. I love the hook.
And the belief has always been that record is about Pac. Now, Lil C's, who was there, was like, "Yeah, the record is about Pac." There's a whole intro to that song that was cut out and burned and tossed because Puffy didn't want anybody to hear it. Puff says, "Nah, that's just some MC shit. It's not real." My belief is that record is absolutely about Tupac, but it was recorded before Pac was killed. And so either they scrapped the whole beginning or Puff didn't. Either they scrapped the beginning because he died, or Puff was never going to allow whatever that interlude that C's talks about when he talks about this record. But there's just too much in that song.
Yeah.
That's
That
like,
it can't be about Pac.
that's about Pac.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man.
And it makes sense because the album was recorded at the height of the beef. So, Who Shot You? If that wasn't a big enough, jab at Pac, he needed something else to.
But Who
really
Shot You
drive.
came out before that stuff started.
It did. Did it?
That
Who
came
Shot You was
out
that was
after-
Mary
Right,
J.
you're right,
But that
you're
came
right,
out
you're right,
after
you're right, you're right,
after
it
he got
did.
shot in the studio.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's what sparked
That's
yeah.
why,
Yeah.
That's
Pac,
why
like,
it
yo,
was
what you mean Who
always
Shot You?
like associated with it, and
Yeah.
eventually it came to right. It was before all of that, but it like just eventually became associated with the beef. Like
Who Shot You was the spark.
Yeah, exactly.
If I like Who Shot You was the one that Pac was in doing the Vibe magazine interviews, talking about he's out here making records about me because he caught I was going to the studio like he was there. Y'all didn't see nothing.
Right.
That was
Which
the
in
catalyst
hindsight, I don't think Biggie had nothing to do with
Nah,
it.
I don't either.
But Who Shot You?
It makes
You
sense
probably
for him
shouldn't have
right.
put that out.
It makes sense for him to
that
like
time.
try to draw those conclusions.
Yeah,
And
like
then he said
if
on
I'm Pac, like that makes sense to me.
yeah, and then he said when he was in Rikers, people were like be like pumping him up with that, like Biggie set you up, right? And here's the song to prove it, So
And once again, I don't think Biggie had anything.
nah,
to do
I don't
with it.
either. I think it was
Because hell,
coincidental.
he almost got shit. Didn't like him and C's almost got caught in the crossfire.
C's almost got
Nah,
caught.
they was
They were coming down.
Big
to
was
meet him.
upstairs.
Big
C's
in
was
the-
coming
C's was
down.
coming down. That's right. Because Big
And
told C's to go get
right.
him.
The elevator opened,
Right.
and the dudes was
Yeah.
still there, and they basically just told him. That's why, like, Pac knows who shot him. and he knows it wasn't. Like, I always looked at that. Like, Pac, I think, is a professional wrestler. Like, he saw a chance to make money with Big, and he wasn't going to go at the people who really shot him. He went at him later on the Machiavelli album, but I don't think he wasn't going to go at he wasn't going to make any money talking about the people who shot him. He's probably going to end up dead if he talked about the people who shot him at Quad City Studios. But when Who Shot You dropped, Who Shot You had been recorded. Like that had been on wax for, I think it was a Mary J B-side or something like that. It was part of a remix thing that dropped back in the days of maxi singles, where you'd get like 5 or 6 different songs on a maxi single. But Long Kiss Goodnight, I think, is my favorite record. And the list is long though.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's also a list of records I have that I didn't think aged well, but we'll get to that. Go ahead.
I don't know what my favorite song is because I love Ten Cracker Ranch. I love Long Kiss. I love Hypnotized. I love More Money, More Problems. I love Going Back to Cali. I love the collab that we probably can't even talk about. That might have been. Yeah, that might be the song.
I'm gonna be honest with everybody. I did not skip that record in my research.
You can't. That's all. That's one of the best, probably top 3 on the album. You can't skip it.
Yeah, I did.
But Kenny, you got to pick one though, man.
If I had to pick one, I'd probably go with. You know, I like the hits, man. I'd probably go with Hypnotized. Hypnotized is the one.
Man, none of us have mentioned what I think is the hardest lyrical record on the album too, and that's What's Beef. What's Beef?
Kicking the Door is also one of my
and that's we talk about this all the time. If you trim the fat on this album, it's the greatest hip hop album of all time. But 24 tracks. It's
what's
not.
The fat?
There's only like 3. There's only like 3. There's only like 3.
So
I want to see what you got.
I could make. I feel like I could make the record timeless because I told Don as we were walking in. It's like, yeah, I noticed something about this album on my way in today. I don't love the second disc.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I feel you on that.
So look, I'm not starting anything. Notorious Thugs, I listen to for a verse and then I turn it off.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're not alone.
I understand why he made Miss You.
Right? Miss You doesn't need to be on there. If you have Sky's
but I understand why he did it.
It does. I think
but I understand why he did it.
I think Miss You was in the wrong spot.
Going back to Cali, you get the verses are dope, but the chorus does, like, the Lil' Kim track doesn't hold up for me.
I actually like that song, but I understand it doesn't.
It doesn't hold up.
But once again, so here's my thought, and I understand what you're saying, but you don't need Missing You and Sky's the Limit and another one and Nasty Boys.
Yeah,
like you don't need. They're damn near the same song
to me.
Like the two,
yeah,
Missing You and Sky's the Limit is almost the same song. Another one and Nasty Boy, like damn near the same song. You don't need them both.
Just similar vibes, right? Right. Yeah.
I'm fine keeping Notorious Thugs. Like I get it. It's important to the record. Going back to Cali, and then I think I'll skip all the way to the last 3 tracks.
Oh,
with My Downfall, Long Kiss Goodnight, and You're Nobody Till Somebody Kills
You. So you're including Sky's the Limit in that, right?
Sky's the Limit, but so here's Sky's the Limit's a great keep your head up record, right? That's kind of it's a good song, but in 2023, I'm probably not listening to it.
The World Is Filled.
It's cool.
That's
cool.
Classic. What's going on?
Classic.
The
World Is Filled is classic.
Absolutely. With Too Short on it.
Ain't no telling when I fuck
Are
them
you
when I diss them.
It's cool.
It's so classic. Jay had to bite the whole verse. You know what I'm saying? Like he had to bite that whole verse.
Cool.
The World Is
like
Filled.
I'm okay. You could lead that into
Did you say My Downfall? You skipped that?
No, that's the last 3 tracks. Okay. Yeah, My Downfall. We could start with The World Is Filled if you want, but Long Kiss and You're Nobody.
Till
somebody.
You think You're Nobody needs to be on there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I love it. I love it.
That's the perfect end of the album.
Yeah, I love it.
It's like Suicidal Thoughts. It's the perfect end of the album.
I'm just checking.
But
just doesn't need to be on there either.
Nah, it's like a cute bit.
See,
the BIG interlude is a tribute to
I like
the
that.
PSK.
Like
it's dope. It doesn't take up a lot of time. It's not that big of a deal. But
B.I.G. is kicking his screen.
yeah, I was just like on the second, as I knew we were on the second disc, I was like, I'm not really gonna bump Miss You. Like, I'm cool.
Yeah,
and then
see,
I
no.
listened to another and was like,
like I said, I actually like that track more.
the
more than
verses
people
are
do.
dope.
Yeah.
But it's like, what do you do when
Yeah,
your
the
bitch
horses,
is on?
yeah,
It's like
That
The way he wrote for Kim on
Alright.
that and like had the back and forth, I enjoy it, but I understand how people are like, that don't need to be on there.
yeah, it's definitely, you know, highlighting Kim and their relationship, business and otherwise, but
mhm.
it was like necessary for him to put that on there. I
Mhm.
feel like, but I gotta ride hard for the second disc though. I
Really?
gotta go hard for the second disc, Damien.
Okay, well,
There's a
you
little
do
bit of
you.
blasphemy going on in here today.
Damon's hiding today.
You
Damon's
skipping
hiding today.
half the
Nah.
come on, man. First of all,
Oh,
10 Crack Commandments.
Oh, I missed that. Yeah, my
Yeah.
bad. I thought that was on the first one. No,
Yeah,
10 Crack
see,
Commandment. That's a
that's
given.
why I just got hyped.
That's a
just
given.
now.
Yeah. Well, I just said that's the record that made him the
Because
greatest. But I thought that was on the.
let's
first
be
disc, you're right.
clear, I have never had any ambitions to sell crack in my life, but that song, I don't know of any song that gives more game than 10 Crack
I feel like
Commandments
I can do it.
that
after-
can be applied
you know
to
who-
so many different things.
You know who it was made for? You know who the beat was made for?
I remember hearing this, but I
No, I don't actually. I know
Angie Martinez.
really.
It was made for Angie Martinez.
That's
It was
right.
made for
Oh,
her.
for the intro for her song. That's
That's
right.
it.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's
Yeah.
right. I did know that.
Yeah,
Yep.
it was made for what was it? The Hot Five,
Yeah.
five, top
Yeah,
5
yeah,
or 5
yeah.
or
It was
whatever.
supposed to- yep.
Yeah,
It was
it was
supposed to
made
be
for
the
her.
intro. Wow.
wasn't that the song? Oh, wasn't that the song Big wasn't feeling it first?
10 Crack Commandments.
The beat. Somebody brought him a beat and he wasn't feeling it. And I remember, it's not this. It's some with I think he said an Isaac Hayes sample. Maybe it's not this one. But he wasn't feeling it at first. And then he went back. It's one of
Yeah, I don't think
his-
it's
one
10
of the
Crack
ones.
Commandments, but that, oh man, that song
I
at
gotta figure out what that
13, like that song was everything.
I feel
to
like that's
me.
something from
Like,
Ready to Die.
Maybe
Yeah,
it
I think
was.
it is
Maybe it
too.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe it
because
was.
I feel like we had this discussion
Mhm.
on Ready to Die where there was a record
Yeah.
that he wasn't.
I wish I could have been
feeling.
here for that conversation.
Oh, we run it back.
we
Like
run
we
that
we could do it again. Like Ready to Die is good. Ready to Die, just like Life After Death, just like All Eyes on Me, just like Illmatic. Like they're good for more than one podcast.
Absolutely.
Like we could talk
Yeah.
about those podcasts
That's
for.
a fact.
We could talk about those albums on multiple podcasts. Obviously, this album's loaded with hit records. Arguably, some of his biggest. When you
Definitely.
talk More Money, More Problems, Hypnotized, it would have been. It's just one of those what ifs things. It would have been incredible to see where this took Big, because Ready to Die got him to the point where, okay, I get this. I'm going to be a massive star with this second album. And Hypnotized, More Money, More Problems, those big crossover pop type records. It's always just incredible to think, like, where would Life After Death have taken Biggie? What would have been next
Yeah.
after
Yeah.
this?
Well, you know, he had the 3, right? So he had Ready to Die, Life After Death, then Born Again as a trilogy. Like Born Again wasn't just something created after he died. Like he had that title already.
Yeah.
So it was like a trilogy already, right?
Mhm.
But the interesting thing about Life After Death that I didn't know, so like I knew, like you knew he got in a car accident, right? Lil
Yeah.
C's, he got in a car accident. He was, limping around for a while. But what I
I
didn't
think,
know,
which reminds me, I think Notorious was for this album.
you think Notorious was for
The song Notorious.
Oh, okay.
I think it
You
was for this
oh,
album.
okay.
Yeah,
Alright,
and they they didn't use it,
Mhm.
and it wound up
Really?
being the lead for Born Again.
on Born Again. That's
Listen to the
interesting.
lyrics too. The timeline matches up
Yeah,
perfectly.
yeah, no, yeah.
I'm in
yeah.
about 3
Breakfast
weeks
and
of
get
recovery.
SpongeBob.
All the nurses is loving me.
Facts.
Yeah,
Facts.
it matches up. I
That'll
think
be
it
the
was for
best
this
part of
album.
the
But
day
what
is
I
my
didn't
half.
know, and that song is a classic. It makes sense if it would be on there. But like Big actually took like 6 months off. Like he had no inspiration. Like he had writer's block. He didn't
Mhm.
want to get in the studio. He was getting in trouble. I think he got in a legal situation. And Puff was like, come on, man, we could fuck this up. Like, you ride high off the success of, Ready to Die and Junior Mafia, but this could all go away. Like, you need to get with it.
Yeah.
And Big just wasn't motivated. So
I heard Big, like, because people always look for big records. Like, why aren't these lost verses? He looked at this stuff as work.
Yeah, for sure.
Like
Going to the studio and stuff.
Yeah, like when he was in the studio, that's when he was working, but he wasn't at the house holding
Right.
his daughter writing a rhyme.
Right.
Like
Right.
that's not how his mind
Not
operated.
at all. Not at all. So when it's funny you say that, because that was a part of it almost became like a chore, you know what I'm saying, to go to the studio to make records, you know what I mean? So what Puff did was he left and went on this famous trip to Trinidad where he made like all these incredible records. He made like Mace's whole album and Kim's whole album and the Puff Daddy and the Family album, you know what I'm saying? And Big was just back, you know, in Brooklyn, just bullshitting. I mean, he was married at this point, I think, him and Faith were together. But it wasn't until Puff came back with all these records and Big was like, oh shit, like you really put in work. Like, okay, let me get back on my shit. And that's when they went back in. I'm not sure what had been recorded already, but in the height of the East Coast, West Coast shit, and Puff going off to do his own thing, I think it was like a wake-up call for Big, like, okay, I gotta really get on my shit. And I think that sense of urgency was there and ended up becoming a, you know, 2-disc album.
Big was almost like how we talk about some of these basketball players, like Ben Simmons. Like he's like, I'm good enough to do, like I'm talented enough to make millions of dollars. I don't really love this shit like that. Like I really like it. I don't like, I don't eat, breathe, and sleep.
The passion.
I'm just really good at it. And like, if I'm this good and could be a multimillionaire, like, how do I not do it? But you know, like he was big. He enjoyed his time away from music. It seemed like you know,
definitely,
yeah, he definitely did, and it's why we only get like a smattering of like, oh, this is a Big verse I haven't, like Jeans and Sneakers. Like if you scour the internet enough, you'll find a handful of them, but you ain't gonna find very many.
You ain't gonna find too many. They are like hidden gems. Like there's a freestyle,
which is why he does the same freestyle over. They say Biggie's freestyling, and he does that. I got the 7 Mac 11s about 8:38. It's like, wait a minute, how many times did he freestyle that joint?
No, but there's a freestyle. There's a Funk Flex. It was a Funk Flex mixtape that came out between Ready to Die, I believe, in Life After Death, where he's on there with the Locks. This was kind of like the Locks' introduction when they were on Bad Boy. And Big spits that line where he says, I got stripes in New York like Yankee uniforms. Oh my God. You know what I'm talking about? You ever heard that?
I think I have heard.
And it's like those little gems, like those little, you know, just gems that Big gave us. It's like, damn, you know, I wish he did love it, you know, because we probably would have got a lot more of those. But he was so just like, you know, he was a fucking genius.
Let me ask you guys, man, and because you saying that, what makes Biggie great in your eyes? To me, it's his lyrics. It's his timing. He doesn't really say anything like, he's not like Nas. With his words, because he may say, I got the cat in the hat in the back of the jet, like he may say that, but it's just,
I make your mouthpiece obese like Della Reese.
like his wit and his timing of the way he put the word. It's hard to explain, but I think you guys understand what I'm saying. It was perfect. It was perfect. It doesn't matter if he was saying cat and hat. The way and the time he said cat and hat was
what you think, Damien?
Nah, I disagree a little bit. Like I agree with your overall point. His delivery is one of the things that makes him legendary. But I do think he has lyrics. Like I don't think he's out there like saying nothing. Just a lot of times what he's saying, especially on this album, that's another thing that stood out to me. What's Beef, 10 Crack Commandment, Mind Down, all them joints. Some of this shit is dark. Some of this shit is,
half the album is dark.
Yeah, like, fuck them in they ass, throw them over the bridge. Like, oh, God damn, Big. Like, Jesus Christ. But yeah, like he has the ability, I think, to deliver those. Like, man, it's tough with 2 albums and some freestyle. I think Big might be the greatest lyricist ever.
Do you guys? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like,
no, I do.
Jay-Z
I do.
and Nas rhyme.
It's not the same.
In a different way.
It's not the same.
So here's my take. So I don't think Big is the greatest lyricist ever, but I do think he has the best flow ever.
Mm.
And I think a part of the reason why he has the best flow is just number one, just rhyming came naturally to him.
Mhm.
And he had been doing it for a long time. So like all his old friends, D-Rock, all the guys who used to hustle with, they would say when Big was on the block, he would just be out there rhyming. This is way before the deal, way before Puff.
Mhm.
He would just be out there rhyming, and he would just kick some shit to his boys, like, yo, what you think of this? Da, 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 da. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And then the famous freestyle battle in front of the bodega.
Mhm.
Yes, it's me, the BIG,
Mhm.
conference ever since 13. So he always had it in him, right? But there's an interesting story about where the flow was perfected, because Big's neighbor was a relatively well-known jazz musician by the name of Donald Harrison. And this guy saw the talent in Big early. And so, you know, he was kind of grooming Big to be a jazz musician. And obviously that wasn't going to happen. Big wasn't going to be no trumpet player, but he kind of, I guess, adopted that staccato sort of jazz flow and implemented it in his rhyme style. So when you hear him flow, you know,
That scat sound.
that scat sound, you know,
that makes a lot
that
of sense.
cadence, that's where that came from.
Wow.
And that's what attributes to his flow being, you know, unlike anybody else's, I think.
That makes a lot of sense. What you said, Damien, as far as him being the best lyricist of all time. Yeah, I mean, I could absolutely see it. I could absolutely see it. Like it's just, to me, it's like all things combined. It is so it's so flawless.
10 Crack Commandments is like a verse. It's just like it's like God did before Jay did it. Like it's just a long verse in which he's laying all this out. And he woves everything together in the way he delivers it. I'm trying to change my perception on this too. Like I just think there's a couple of tracks that get in my way, and it's really Miss You and Another that are just like glaring out.
Miss You does take the vibe down. Like it doesn't
following
flow right.
Notorious Thugs.
It don't
work.
flow right. They messed that.
And like when you talk about like he felt like he had to have it on, that was like obviously dedicated to somebody.
So,
that's
dedicated
right.
to his
that's why
man.
it was on. That's why like Sky's the Limit wasn't. Sky's the Limit was like a Puffy record.
Right.
Almost. Like, all right, Puff, I'll give you Sky's the Limit, but we're not taking off Miss You. This is for my man.
Yeah.
We got to get Justin Tinsley on the show. He wrote It Was All a Dream that came out maybe a year ago. He writes for Andscape, but it's one of the, you know, the Unbelievable is a really good big book, but I think It Was All a Dream is better. Like it's a little more concise too, but I think that book is incredible. We got to get Justin Tinsley on the show because he talked about what losing O meant to Big, and how you talk about that writer's block, that loss of ambition. A lot of that had to do with him dying,
because
that shut him down when it happened,
because he was instrumental in Big's life,
everything,
because he was like the guy. He was one of the guys who introduced him to the game, but immediately saw how talented Big was, and was like, okay, I'm gonna do everything to help you get on. So he was putting up the money for studio time when he was doing demos, and just, you know, just kind of like his main like benefactor. Like he was just backing him with everything, and it was a huge loss when he lost his man.
Let me ask you guys a question. How much credit does Puff get for this album? Because this seems like Puffy's fingerprints are all over it, and it was like the classic push and pull between Puff and Big. And Puff was like, or Big was like, I want to make Somebody's Gotta Die. And Puff was like, all right, well, we got to make more money, more problems too. And they just, like, if it feels like, I could be wrong, but it feels like that happened all throughout the album. Like, I want to make 10 Crack Commandments. All right, well, give me Sky's the Limit. And it works, right? Like people look at Puff and they're like, oh, you know, he brings in the, you know, the pop side of it all, but shit, that was star-making stuff.
Absolutely.
Like it wasn't. You went from being just a really dope rapper to a mega star.
No, facts.
Because of what Puff. How much credit do you think Puff gets for this
I
album?
mean, I think he gets the credit. I think he gets a lot of credit, number one, but mostly the credit for like polishing up, a gem that he found in the hood.
He was the maestro behind
He
all
was
this.
absolutely the maestro.
Yeah.
And he saw Big didn't even see his full potential. Puff did. And I think there was genuine love. I know there was genuine love between them. There had to be. I know there was, but I do feel you on like him pulling him to the pop side more or less, the commercial side of it. Because Big did want to stay gutter. He did want to stay dark. He did want to stay street. But
there was a turning point that I think it registered with him. Funny note, Diddy produced every record you think he produced, with the exception of Sky's the Limit. Clark can't produce that one, but every record in your head you're thinking, I bet Puff did that one. He did. And probably a few you don't think too, because I think he did Somebody's Gotta Die. He did You're Nobody Till Somebody Kills You. But I think Big had a moment between, because it was between Ready to Die and Life After Death. Like I think we talked about on Ready to Die how you talk about the push and pull. That was juicy.
Yeah.
Big was like, all right, dude, like whatever. Then they did the One More Chance remix and lost in all of the lore of Ready to Die. Technically, the biggest song off of that record, even though it wasn't on the record, was One More Chance.
I feel like that's when I got introduced to Big.
I think that's the moment where Big was like, oh, okay.
Right.
Because Juicy was big, but it was still hip hop big. Big Papa was big. It had a little bit more crossover. One More Chance, that was a smash.
Commercial.
Yeah, that was a smash everywhere.
We looked it up. That was the biggest selling single, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah, we looked that up on that.
On Ready to Die.
Yeah, the amount, it's crazy. I mean, I know everything is measured on downloads now, but looking back at how many records One More Chance, the single sold, was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Just ridiculous.
Yeah, it was a phenomenon.
Which actually makes me think a little bit later, how many records did Hypnotized sell? Let's see if I can find this quick enough.
That'll be up there.
Rap phenomenon.
Hypnotized. United States. Okay, maybe not as many as I thought. Any guesses?
4 million.
Ooh. 1.2.
1.2.
But remember though, we're 97. We're starting to we're not quite where we were when One More Chance, Juicy, all those came out.
I'll make this prediction right now. I think More Money, More Problems sold more.
Okay.
Then Hypnotized?
Yeah. More Money, More
All
Problems.
I know is Puff loved Diana Ross. Puff absolutely loved Diana Ross. 1.3 in the United States.
And Hypnotized 1.5?
1.2.
1.2. More Money, More Problems. That was so it was, after he passed or whatever. And it was the second single. And I remember that was all summer. That was all summer. MTV Jams, the countdown every single day, top 10 videos. All summer long, number one was More Money, More Problems. All summer. That's how I figured it was pretty big. It's just that whole summer of 97 or whatever.
I gotta look up one more single. Oh, they're not gonna give me the numbers for it because there was another song that was number one that whole summer. Oh, there it is. Yeah, and it's not even close. Nah.
Scream.
Hey, don't laugh. Don't tell no jokes. There. I don't like how you laughed at that. You need to calm down. You need to calm down over there.
Scream was there. I used to see Scream every day on the countdown.
That's funny.
That was amazing. What song?
I'll Be Missing You.
Oh
my
really?
Goodness.
Yeah.
Oh man.
3.1.
Yeah. That song was everywhere.
3.1, three times platinum here, 3 times platinum in the United Kingdom, 3 times platinum in Sweden, 3 times platinum in Germany, 4 times platinum in Belgium, 2 times platinum in Australia.
That song was.
And you know what's crazy about that too? I can remember back then, people saying, "Oh yeah, Puff has something to do with Big dying because I'll Be Missing You hit so big, and he became like a star in his own right after that. On the heels of that whole thing.
It's crazy.
And yeah, it was just, man, that was a real dark time, dude. Because when Ready to Die came out, the reason why this album means so much to me, my grandmother died the same year. My grandmother died in May of 97. Big died March 9th. And I just remember Ready to Die was like, I mean, Life After Death, rather, I'm sorry, was the first album I really like lived with. Like every single track, like internalized it, you know, like every single song, like it was like an escape for me. Like it was just took me somewhere, and I took something from every song, and it was kind of like an escape from what was just going on in a day-to-day kind of situation. Like I was close with my grandma, and you know, I just watched her kind of deteriorate. And you know, here's this album that I love, but Big's gone too. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was just a crazy time, you know what I mean? But the impact that this album had and its staying power, and you know, 25 years later, it's just timeless, you know what I mean? And I think going back to your question about Puff, you know, Puff was instrumental in, like, okay, hits are hits, right? But some hits just have just that timeless appeal. You know what I mean? Like all the hits on these records, they're forever. Like Hypnotized is forever. As many times as we heard it back then, you could still run it back today, and it still has the same energy and feel just as
still
good.
bopping.
You still vibing to the shit, right? And that I gotta give Puff the credit for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, those songs last forever.
Yeah,
you know, they last forever. Another question for you guys. Did Big not do a whole lot of interviews? Because I remember the 94.9 interview, and then the one that's on the end of this first disc. It ended up being a Rap City interview
with Joe Clear.
Yeah. And it feels like that's it. That and then on the More Money, More Problems, when he was clearly out of shape and out of breath and was like waking up.
He's in the SUV.
Paranoid.
Yeah.
And it feels like I'm looking back, I was like, damn, did he do a lot of interviews?
Well, I don't think there were the same outlets for interviews. Like that's what you had. You like most radio interviews weren't saved and filmed and different things like that. And the Rap City ones, and you know, the one where he's I think it's Rap City, but where he's talking about Pac.
That's the one on the basketball court.
Yeah, it was like that shit fucked me up. Like that one.
Yeah. Got the orange and blue Kanash.
Yeah, that one. I just don't think they're as readily available 25 years ago as, you know, they are today.
I only asked because it felt like Pac was all.
I was about to say that Pac had so many interviews though. Like he was on Rap City, he was on Teen Summit, he would have everywhere.
These random ones.
He was on like Video Soul.
Video Soul.
Yeah,
he was in a hotel lobby with the beanie and the black.
Yeah,
he was in jail. Did an interview in jail. Like Pac was
the interview at the gun range. Like he was doing shit everywhere. No, that's a good point though. Pac was everywhere,
but it didn't feel like Big.
Big didn't seek that. Pac sought the camera out though. Pac loved that stuff.
That's true.
I don't think Big did. I genuinely don't think Big wanted to be famous. I just think he wanted to be rich. I think he wanted the money and the security. I don't think he wanted the fame that came with it. Like you talk about the SUV interview. I think that shit is real. Like the beginning of My Downfall. Yeah, that shit is real.
Yeah,
definitely. Those calls that he's getting. Like, I don't think he wanted that. I just think he wanted the money that came with it.
Yeah,
and he saw this all as building a better life for his mom, his family, that and that whole deal.
Yeah, because even when you know they were shopping his demo tapes around,
Pac wanted the fame. That's why like that. That's why it's different.
Yeah, definitely. And Pac was just more. I don't want to say he was a performer, but he was. He was a performer.
Dude was an actor.
He absolutely was, and
he was on a different world. We watched him like 2 weeks ago.
It's a fact. But I mean, Big was on Martin though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but he was on Martin as Big.
True.
Like Pac wasn't Pac. Pac
he
was
just Piccolo.
Well, that's
he was.
But
he was Piccolo.
He still acted though. He still.
But no,
acted.
definitely
the campus fighting.
But I think, yeah, like when you know you make that comparison, it does sort of give insight into the fact that Big was definitely more, you know. He just let the music speak for him. I feel like, you know, but I don't think he really knew how massive a star he was or could be,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because I could totally see, like, after that Martin episode, I could totally see Big doing movies or, you know, doing more, you know, TV or just being out there more.
Yeah.
But he never really was. Like,
Yeah.
I literally, as you said that, I can think of every Big interview there ever was. Like, I could think of the MTV interviews with him and Puff, where he's talking about Pac getting shot. The SUV one, the Rhyme and Reason interview with him and his mom, the Rap City one,
and then the 94.9, which
and
like that might
that's the one in San Francisco.
Yeah,
Where
like
he's
was
standing
the
up
only
talking.
radio interview he ever did. Because that's you feel like you would see more of those, but that's the only one we ever see.
So here's a question, y'all might know. So the famous freestyle where Big and Pac are sitting down, was that an interview or was that just them freestyling?
That's a good question, because there's cameras. Yeah, there's
so
cameras of an interview, but I'm not sure.
I feel like it's
an interview.
I feel like it's a Pac interview. Because I feel like Pac says, "Yo, this is my man, the Notorious B.I.G." Right, like he's introducing Pac to. So I feel like it's a Pac. I don't know for what though.
Yeah, because Big performed that same night, and Pac performed.
Was that the one at the Garden?
He performed Party and Bullshit. I don't know if.
Okay, got you.
Yeah, but I always wondered, was that an interview? Because I mean, Big was out, or he was getting ready to be out. Like people knew who he was, you know. But yeah, like you said, he's.
Yeah, but that wasn't ready
like
to die big.
It felt like it was a Pac bringing him along.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Which I think everyone knows. Like Pac did that. Like Pac put him on stage and did all of that. Party and Bullshit was Who's the Man? I think was the Who's the Man soundtrack.
Underrated movie, by the way.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's great. I'm saying it's underrated. Abracadabra.
And Love of Dr. Dre.
Lover and Dr. Dre.
Busta Rhymes cameo.
Real quick before we leave Ready to Die, or excuse me, Life After Death. We kind of talked about this before. Want to get your take on it, Damien. Is one of the things that makes this album so phenomenal in the eyes of a lot of people is Big's ability to adapt on a numerous different songs. Like numerous. Like he'll do the song with the R&B artist that shall remain nameless. He'll do I Love the Dough and kind of have a different.
How do y'all feel about that record?
I Love the Dough.
Yeah,
them boys is getting after it.
Okay.
See, I don't. Actually, I don't know now. Like I used to see. I mean, Brooklyn's Finest is a classic, but I Love the Dough.
I feel like I Love the Dough gets unfairly criticized.
I like I Love the Dough.
I like
so
it,
do
but
I
don't love it though. I'll be honest. I don't love it.
But that
I love the record. I can't even lie. I don't know that's maybe it's not hard enough for people, but it gets a bad rap and it bothers me because I love the record.
See, to me, it's like, damn, if I could compare it, it's like when Michael Jackson and Stevie Wonder did those collaboration songs. And
that's fine because I love that record too.
I love those too, but they're still underwhelming though. Like, because like the two of them, you know, y'all couldn't have come up with a better song than Just Good Friends.
Just Friends is fire. Yo, you've been hanging out with Spike Lee too much, man.
Spike loves. What are you talking about?
Because what Spike, they did a whole section in that Bad 25 about how Just Good Friends was like the worst.
Quincy Jones said that. He said y'all couldn't have come up with something better than this.
Quincy out of pocket.
But I Love the Dough. I mean, it's a. Like, I don't want to say it's a J type song, but I mean, it was a little different. It sounded a little more Reasonable Doubt. I'm on a yacht type deal.
Definitely.
You got Notorious Thugs, obviously. Going Back to Cali was a little bit of a different feel.
Yeah.
Now,
but wait, hold on. Let me stop you right there, Kenny. We're not just gonna gloss over Notorious Thugs. And I want to direct this back to you, Damien. With all this recent Bone Thugs and Harmony hate. Let's just talk about how brilliant a song Notorious Thugs is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right? Starting with Big's untimely flow that he could match that East 1999 sound.
Yeah, no doubt.
Like, you gotta give him some more credit to
some
that.
People would say, Big didn't say this, but some people will say that's when they felt Big was the greatest. He's
When
like,
he
oh,
did that?
hold on, man.
When he did
He
those
Yeah,
doing
you know
this?
why? Because he did it better than they did. That's why.
I don't. Okay.
There's nothing wrong with Bone Thugs and Harmony. They're
know, I know.
fine. It's not my it's
I
not my vibe.
I'm
It's
just
not
giving
really
you a hard
mine
time
either, to be
about.
I
it.
honest with
have
It's
an
not
edit.
mine either. I'm just
I
giving you a hard time.
have an edit of the song that ends after the first verse. And if I'm putting a playlist together, I'm putting the version that ends after the first
Hey,
verse on the
look.
playlist.
Look, to be honest with you, that version of that song probably sells more records than those.
See?
those
Nah,
songs.
I wouldn't
I don't
argue.
know
with
if
that.
I don't know if I know anybody that says I played a song all the way through more than I stop
Just
it after
big
Big
So
Verse.
like quick, Armed and Dangerous, ain't too many can bang with us. Straight up, we know Angel Dust, label us Notorious. Give me one line from the other verses.
Better red rum 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 rum.
And sneaky, the best part of that is so-called beef with you know who. Fucked a few female stars or two. Yeah, like that's one thing I loved about Big is I'll acknowledge it, but I ain't gonna say it.
Right.
Yeah.
You know that I
He'll
know.
touch on
Yeah, I'm
We're
gonna
gonna
acknowledge
leave
it,
it
but I
at
ain't gonna
that. Just
say
know
it.
that I know. Yeah.
Y'all got anything else on Life After Death?
Yeah, I do real quick, not to end on a somber note, but when I was going through the album, I did think about how prophetic the album was.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I know, like I said earlier, there was a trilogy planned. It was, you know, the 3, but some of the darkness, some of the themes of the album, even the cover art, even the whole Hitchcock photo shoot in, you know, the graveyard and the hearse and all of that.
And shout out to Apple who did the re-release with the animated. It's a moving album cover, and it has like the bird like flocking. It looks amazing.
I think, you know, oftentimes artists, you know, they sort of prophesize the future, like they can see the future. And I wonder, like, all of the big paranoia, like him saying he was scared and waking up feeling like people were really going to kill him, the threats on his life. Yeah. Like, did he really feel something coming? You know, because we know Pac felt something coming. But I often wondered, you know, listening, even you nobody till somebody kills you, like records like that really get dark and morbid. I'm like, did Big sense something was coming? You know
what's kind of sad about that too. And I don't want this to come off as like Pac deserved it. Obviously, clearly, he did not deserve anything that happened to him in his untimely death. But I feel like Pac was prophesizing that way because he was moving that way.
Yeah.
He was moving a certain way that, and with certain people where if you mess around that way enough, it's going to catch up to you.
Yeah.
Big wasn't moving like that. Like Big he was just enjoying his lifestyle, enjoying his money, and he wasn't moving that way.
Right.
And for him to be that paranoid of, you know, what could come is really sad, to be honest with you. Because he was like, I mean, I'm in this situation that it feels like I can't get out of, even though I'm not doing anything to perpetuate it.
Right.
And that's a little upsetting.
Yeah.
If they had caught Big's killer like they did Nipsey's, would his story be any different?
Would Big's story be?
Yeah. Or Pac or you know, because I think how much, like, there's so much extra stuff that goes into these two stories, right? The fact that they're linked.
I've seen every doc and every USA TV,
right?
Everything,
unsolved mysteries, you know, every movie from every different angle. The fact that these two guys are so linked together, and part of the story is their death. Part of the story of their death is they're both unsolved. One was murdered on the Strip in Las Vegas. The other was murdered in Los Angeles, and no one got anything. And all of the lawsuits and the LAPD and the article, all of that stuff just adds more and more to these stories. And for me, it elevates those guys to an even greater level, because it starts falling into the categories of, you start to get those, and this is where you read too much or see too much, and you start losing the ability to decipher what's real and what's fake. But those people, Martin was killed. right? Like Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated for a purpose. Like there was a reason that he was murdered.
Today's the anniversary of that too.
And you listen to that stuff. You listen to the stuff with Pac and Big, and you start to find these things. Oh man, is this the same thing? Like maybe they weren't assassinated, but maybe they saw no reason to find out who did it. And I think it's lifted both of them up in their post life. It's why it's part of the reason those two names are going to live. Their death is part of the reason that they're going to live forever.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Don. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think it definitely adds to the lore without question. Does their legacy change? Does their stature, who they are, does it change if we find the killers? I personally don't think so, because I think the lifting up of the two of them is more in a negative light, you know what I mean, than anything. Because like you said, all the documentaries, all the movies, books, et cetera, like it's like there is money to be made in the mystery of who killed Big and Pac. You know what I mean? So it's almost like exploitive at this point, because it's clear there wasn't an effort to find out who did it. There's a lot of speculation, but nobody knows for sure. And yeah, sure, that does, make them even more mythical, in stature. But if the killers were, found and apprehended, I don't think it changes, because Nipsey Hussle, I think he's just going to continue to ascend and be larger than life as time goes on, much like Big and Pac.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I mean, it's a great, question to pose.
It is. I think at this point in time, it doesn't have any effect. Maybe if it happened within 5 years of Big's death, maybe it does, take a certain effect. But now, at this point in time, we're 25, 26 years away. I don't think it has much effect. And the ironic thing about it, we don't know, but like I said, I've watched all this stuff. It seems like the killing of Tupac was completely unrelated from music. Sound like it's some gang stuff. And it was Pac moving a certain way with the wrong people. And that is, I want to be careful, but that's not as romantic as what's been put out there. It's like, yo, this beef is just, music in the East Coast, West Coast. Like it's unfortunate. It was like some street shit that, like I said, he was moving some type of way. Big situation, in my opinion, had a lot to do. It was a little bit of retaliation. And I think if you pull back enough layers with the Big thing, I do believe there were cops involved.
Yeah.
Was the LAPD involved? I'm not saying that, but cops who had different ties to other stuff
definitely
were involved, got hyped up in this whole thing and looked to retaliate. And that's something that maybe if there was a little more light on Pac's killer early and like that story early, maybe we could have avoided what happened with Big, because I do feel like Big's situation was unjust retaliation to Pac's, and he had absolutely nothing to do with Pac's death.
I was at the Peterson Automotive Museum. Both of you know that recently. And there was a moment we were walking in where took some pictures and going to walk in, and I like stopped and I kind of like did that look around like, oh, okay, this is where the truck pulled out. This is where the dude in the Nation of Islam outfit walked by. Cause like putting all of this stuff together, the car goes over here to the stoplight, makes that turn. Here comes the other car, and it's over.
Damn,
it's over.
Those things are always tripping.
Yeah,
like it's always tripping.
Seeing it, seeing it.
It's like akin to you walk down that alley over by the Marathon store, and it's like, this is where this dude walked back. Like you see, okay, this is where the car was waiting. He walked through this alley, came around. Like that's always.
I'm mad I didn't go down there before they closed that down, man.
Yeah, there's the video that picks up Big being killed.
Yeah, it's crazy, and it just came out.
Yeah, and it's like right across the street from that entrance, and I'm just looking at all this, like, oh, this is wild.
Yeah,
like
man,
this is crazy. We appreciate you so much for being with us. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't yet. If you have the ability to leave a review, If you think this show's worth 5 stars, man, leave it. Send us your thoughts. You can always take part in the conversation as well. At Dealing with KC, at IMK Diddy, at Damien Barling, at The Dope Ones on Twitter. Instagram's a great way to connect with us. We're all over these social media platforms. But most of all, we appreciate you downloading and listening, and we'll hope you be back here next week on Corners of the Culture.
Holla.
Peace.